on World Report. Hope for thousands
Hi, good morning, Cheryl. How are you doing?
who need kidney transplants.
It's certainly the biggest breakthrough I've seen in transplantation in my young career.
Hundreds of strangers helping each other, giving a piece of themselves, literally.
If you have two of something and you only need one, you might as well give it to somebody else.
But if it's such a good solution, why are so few patients participating? All this tonight on World Report. Now, reporting from San Francisco, here's correspondent Leslie Bogosian with her report, Chain of Cures.
Gary Sweet is a retired attorney and now usher for the San Francisco Giants.
Enjoy the game.
Thank you.
Esther Valdez is a 15-year-old in New York City. In Hawaii, Karen Tomoka is a 59-year-old mother. What do these very different people have in common? Their kidneys are failing, and they need new ones. And they might just save each other's lives. Gary, Esther, and Karen are 3 of 26 million Americans who have chronic kidney disease and were part of a group of over 80,000 on the wait list to get a new kidney. They prayed for a new kidney, and when Esther's doctor told them about a new way to find kidneys for those who need them, they were hopeful. Esther would be entered into a patient pool and soon be part of a transplantation procedure affecting dozens of people all across the United States.
It's certainly the biggest breakthrough I've seen in transplantation in my young career. You know, it's such a simple concept. It's a shame we haven't been doing this for years.
Dr. Jeffrey Veal is a renal transplant surgeon at UCLA Medical Center, one of the first hospitals to take part in National Kidney Chains, a revolutionary system matching donors and recipients all over the country.
Before this time, we have been trying to get more donor kidneys. We've been trying to expand the donor pool. Mind you, it's the deceased donor pool, by accepting marginal kidneys. But these are with healthy, living donor kidneys.
Basically, it works like this. People who need a kidney and have family or friends who are willing to donate but aren't good matches are hooked up with strangers in the same position. The more people who sign up, the more matches are made, and a chain of donations is started.
Instead of our parents, for example, or instead of our mothers having to wait on dialysis, we can donate to someone else, and in return, our moms get a kidney. It would be the greatest expansion in the living donor pool to this point. I used a quote that Yogi Berra said that if this thing catches on fire, it's going to snowball across the country. You know, it should just take off.
Garrett Hill is the man behind the rapid growth of this new way of doing transplants. Not surprisingly, it all started when 3 years ago, his then 10-year-old daughter experienced kidney failure and needed a transplant. Passing the initial tests, Hill was set to donate his kidney, but just hours before surgery, his daughter's body developed an antibody which would most likely cause her to reject her father's kidney.
How frustrating was that time for you, knowing that your daughter needed a kidney and you could not get a match?
Well, it was beyond frustrating. It was devastating. You know.
Still willing to donate for his daughter, Hill and his family looked for other options to find a so-called paired exchange, an informal network of people in the same boat.
We launched an extensive donor search campaign to try to find somebody that was compatible with our daughter who could donate. I had been reading up on paired exchange, so I entered myself and the rest of the family into as many paired exchange programs. Actually, we tried to enter every paired exchange program in the country, and we never got a match. And it was that experience that kind of, made me very aware that of the great promise of paired exchange and the little that was, available to patients.
The United Network for Organ Sharing, or UNOS, is the private nonprofit organization that manages the nation's organ transplant system contracted by the federal government. It manages the National Kidney Transplant waitlist, matching patients to kidneys from donors who have died as they come available. But UNOS does not have a system in place to facilitate live kidney donor transplants, something Hill found inconceivable and decided to do something about it.
That was the surprising thing, is that there wasn't a system to match all the incompatible donors around the country. And when I went to start the National Kidney Registry, half the people that I talked to would tell me, "Do you mean this doesn't exist already?" So it was reinforcement to do it because it seemed so logical that we needed one of these.
Hill's daughter ended up receiving a kidney from her cousin and is now healthy. But Hill wasn't ready to move on. His daughter's brush with death motivated him to do something. As a former CEO and current owner of a consulting and software development company, Hill is an unlikely medical innovator. But he relied on his business sense and computer programming connections to formulate a plan to join transplant centers and their patients together into one big pool of potential matches, a national kidney registry. Hill poured over $1.5 million of his own money into the effort and began a campaign to recruit the top transplant centers in the country to join the registry.
How were you received by the medical community when you went out and you said, you know what, I think we're going to start, here I am, I'm just going to start a kidney donation service, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, it was tough because obviously we had a credibility problem because I was coming from, the technology world, the financial services businesses. I'd run for-profit companies, and I didn't have, any background in medicine. 3 years ago, it was a challenge to even get the appointment to talk to somebody about this.
But his pitch was interesting, his strategy promising.
The idea, when he talked about it, just seemed like a no-brainer to me. I mean, I thought, why have we not been doing this before? There had been some basic swaps, and we had done some basic swaps where it's just, you want to give a kidney to your mom, I want to give a kidney to my mom, I don't match my mom, you don't match yours, and we just swap. But this chain makes the logistics so much better. It makes the matching process so much easier.
The concept was simple. Some centers were already doing what's called paired exchange. If person one needed a kidney and they had a donor but wasn't a match, they would team up with another pair in the same situation that matched the recipients and donors and just trade, a procedure that came with a very low probability rate. Hill's vision was to expand on that and create chains of donors and recipients with theoretically no end. An altruistic donor donates to a person in need, and, in turn, that person's donor donates to another recipient, moving from one pair to another, the chain ending with the last donor donating to the national wait list.
We built the system around this concept of chains where a non-directed altruistic donor or a good Samaritan donor who just wants to help somebody out. Right. What we do now is they donate to the first recipient in the chain. So let's say they donate to my daughter. Then I'm freed up to donate to anybody in the pool. So I look around the pool and, oh, I'm a match with your son. So I donate to your son. Then you look around the pool of 100 or 200 people, and then you donate to the next person. And the chances of you being compatible with another recipient are very high.
No matter where they are in the country.
No matter where they are in the country. And so this chain concept has revolutionized paired exchange. And as a result, it's getting 10 times, maybe 20 times more people transplanted.
Hi, good morning, Cheryl. How are you doing?
Dr. John Milner is a transplant surgeon and director of the Living Donor Program at Loyola Medical Center in Chicago, who, since joining the National Kidney Registry 6 months ago, has participated in 11 chains.
Now, people coming to my program who otherwise, in the past, I had to say to them, well, you're going to have to wait because you're not the right blood type, or this is not a good match for you. Now, we just incorporate them into a chain and get them transplanted.
The National Kidney Registry is not the only organization facilitating kidney exchanges, but they are the only ones doing it nationwide and at a much faster rate. According to UNOS, the average wait time to get a kidney on the deceased donor list is about 5 years. The average wait time for a live donor kidney from other organizations is about 6.5 years. The average wait time to get a kidney through the National Kidney Registry is under 10 months. The reason? Computer technology.
The reason that we have moved forward with the National Kidney Registry is because of their advanced software systems. They're using technologies based on the New York Stock Exchange software systems, and basically they're treating chain transplantation just like the stock exchange, which is lighting up the whole chain experience around the country and getting people transplanted faster.
We just went to 9, see that?
Yep.
So now this says that we found the chain that's 9 deep, which means 9 people will get a transplant if this works. Now, we just went to 10 deep.
Hill showed us how the chains form. No names or personal information, Just numbers working at super speeds, matching people all over the country.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chains that are headed to surgery right now, representing about 20 or 25 people that will get transplanted in the next month or so.
Is there a danger of bypassing any criteria that's important? Like you're going so fast that something.
Well, no, because you can't enter a pair into the system unless all the fields are filled in. So there's kind of system checks so that you can't move forward unless you know everything about that pair. But once they get into our system, we are absolutely rushing it because everything's done. We just need to find a match.
Gary Sweet in San Francisco, Karen Tomoka in Hawaii, and Esther Valdez in New York City are about to be linked forever by one of Garrett Hill's kidney chains. They will be part of the largest kidney chain in history. If all goes according to plan, by the time the chain is complete, 44 operations will happen in 13 states, many within hours of each other. And 22 patients will have a new lease on life.
Up next, inside a medical phenomenon as it happens.
So how do you feel? Your wife just went into the OR.
It's hard to describe. I'm just so thankful.
This is the largest chain ever attempted. In all, 22 transplants will happen in 13 hospitals. Before dawn on August 24th, Leanne arrives at UC San Francisco Medical Center, and so begins a medical marathon. Over the course of the next 15 hours, most of the operations in this chain will happen, almost simultaneously. The surgical team prepares meticulously for 4 operations, making sure everyone knows which kidney goes where.
There's a red donor over at UC, and that's coming over by transport, hopefully around 10 o'clock.
Each surgical team wears coordinating wristbands and carries color-coded coolers for the precious cargo.
You're the blue doctor? Yes. These are blue armbands.
They'll be operating on Gary Sweet, the usher for the San Francisco Giants who we met earlier.
I love you. Yeah. I'll see you when this is all over. You're welcome. I love you. Oh.
He and his wife Rose are the 4th pair in this chain.
I will see you soon.
Today, Rose will donate her kidney while Gary receives a new one.
So how do you feel? Your wife just went into the OR.
It's hard to describe. I'm just so thankful.
As are families all across the country on this August day. Families that are linked in this long, life-giving chain. For privacy purposes, all donors and recipients are kept anonymous from each other until after the surgery. The donor kidneys are taken out first.
Okay, clamp.
And then prepped for transplant. The organs cleaned up and irrigated, then placed in ice for their trip to the next recipient. Some just go across the hall. Some across town. They are wrapped and packaged like any other delivery and handed off to a messenger. Some are flown to other states, from California to Utah, from New York to California.
There's the kidney coming to life. It's a beautiful, healthy-looking organ from a total stranger.
This is the one that came across town. Yeah.
The gray frozen appearance is normal, though only removed a short while ago. It's been flushed out and put on ice, but it only takes a moment to come back to life.
Oh, yeah.
And just like that, Leanne Tomoka's kidney is living in another person. After an unprecedented series of interconnected operations, 22 people have received new kidneys and a new lease on life. It all started with a computer program that allowed strangers to give each other a part of themselves, literally.
Surgery is not something that we do every day, and there is something, I guess, qualitatively different that we think about giving somebody an organ, but we treat this as something slightly extraordinary, but people do extraordinary things for each other all the time.